You know, people were right. It is a good idea just to sit down, relax, and take in the world for a little bit. But now that I'm taking in the world, why is there a giant glass tree ornament? Why am I sitting on a Christmas-themed pillow? And why is Santa here? Wait a second. It's here, isn't it? Well, that settles it. Better late than never. I guess I'll open gifts now. Maybe I'll start with this conspicuously placed one right at the tip of my feet. Wait a second. That's weird. This one's from the man himself. Well, there's no point in waiting. I'm already late, so might as well dig in. A Microvision? The fuck is a Microvision? And why is there so much shit for it? Alright, now hold on. I gotta do some research on this damn thing. Alright, let's see. Microvision. Okay, so hello everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at the programmable electronic game system Microvision, released in November of 1979 by the Milton Bradley Company. You know, the board game people. Well, what they ended up releasing was actually the first ever handheld video game console with interchangeable cartridges, hence the programmable in the title. Basically, it's a Game Boy before the Game Boy by 10 years.
Now, while I may not have the entire collection, I do have a hefty bunch, so we'll be taking a look at these.
For starters, let's open this guy up. Wow. 70s styrofoam. Ain't that something?
Now I know Blockbuster, not the rental service, is written all over this thing, but I stuck one of my loose games in here for the sheer fact that this thing looks terrifying without a cover on it.
By interchangeable, they meant you take off the entire controls and you expose this. It looks very unsettling. I don't know what it was about it, but it's just like exposed foil. I don't even know if that's original. Maybe it is.
First, we'll be tackling Blockbuster.
Now, I would put a funny joke here, but that name kind of just depresses me.
Before we cover Blockbuster though, let's take a second to familiarize ourselves with the Microvision. We've got an analog dial. A little stiff, but it's pretty damn nice. A power switch because, duh. Our battery compartment on the back, also featuring a spare battery slot for your frickin' 9 volts, and a dial for contrast. Obligatory excuse the quality, this thing is kinda 43 years old. It's seen better days. I will also take this time to mention that this is a 2-inch display. The games have a total storage of 2 kilobytes of ROM, and the device itself has 64 bytes of RAM. Also, the CPU is running at 100 kilohertz. Wow! Also, depending on the cartridge you insert, you either have more or less ROM on that CPU. Also, the CPU differs between cartridge to cartridge. It's really weird, but kinda cool, I guess? I don't know, it's really primitive. But yeah, here's Blockbuster, and here's the confusing ass menus of the Microvision. Yeah, it's 16 by 16. You gotta figure out what the fuck is going on. Here comes the manual to save the day, but the manual is actually mostly about the Microvision itself. Not to worry, there is a small blurb of just text.
Oh yeah, not only you get the manual, but you also get the instructions inside the fucking box.
The number under balls is corresponding to the balls. How many balls do you want? How many balls do you have? S and F is for slow and fast, and T and D is for triple and double. Basically, the amount of pixels you want. You want 3 or 2. In conclusion, it's just bad Breakout. You can't fault it for being bad because it's 79, 16 by 16. It's really not that advanced. And that's the sad truth. It's pretty ahead of its time, but it's just not there yet technologically. Up next, we've got Star Trek.
Star Trek? Man, that's some lame ass shit. I'm gonna go read Sonic comics or maybe catch up on Halo lore.
Star Trek. This is a stationary Space Invaders type shooter game. The menu this time around allows you to adjust your targets. You can change how many pixels they take up, their speed, and how many you have. Now, while I said the game is stationary in the sense that you don't use the knob to move freely, you do actually have 3 points to shoot from. They're both very sharply diagonal, and I don't really see a point in using them, considering that timing through the middle is really easy. Also, there isn't really any feedback for this game, you just kinda keep shooting until it ends. Yet again, another mediocre title. Yeah, it's unfortunate, it is simple, but they still could have done more with the simplicity. For example, automatically increasing the difficulty, or even just giving you a set amount of targets to hit, unless that's already there, but I haven't noticed because once again, it just randomly decides to end. Or they could have just made it Space Invader style. There's literally an analog knob, that would have been great. You could have decided how many rows you wanted to shoot. In fact, I'm a little disappointed, Space Invaders actually kinda would have worked on this. Next up, could you fathom bowling on this thing?
The hell? Why isn't it working? I thought this was bowling.
So yeah, now's the time to score some strikes.
I should mention, this guy was only getting games up till 81. That's when it got discontinued, unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately.
This time we've only got two menu options. What are 2 players, and the speed we want the ball to move at. So the question is, how's bowling gonna work on here? Answer, not very well. I'll give them credit, once again this is LCD based and not much movement is given, so having to time your shot with the ball at the bottom is pretty clever, I guess. I guess it's a sort of arcadey take and I can kind of see it, but it's just not really there now, is it? I kind of feel bad for dogging on this thing because it really is kind of cool how they try to get these things to work. But it sucks. It's old and manky, it just sucks. Be happy we've moved on from these days. Alright, now it's Mindbuster's turn.
Turn on that one. I don't think I get this. Well, here's something neat. This one came with a static shield. So this is a static shield? This thing can kill itself if it doesn't have one of these? That's reassuring. It's even got instructions on how to apply it just in case you don't know how to stick a sticker on.
Now Mindbuster is a little bit weird, and I won't dwell on it too much, as this isn't a full in-depth review. This is just one of those confusing lights out type of games, you know, the Yoshi Sphinx one, that kind of game. So this isn't exactly the most intuitive game. Although maybe if you understood it, it'd be a little bit more fun. The problem is though, this game is already sort of just a one-time thing. It was never the most popular little game you could play on a device ever, so not a huge loss. Alright, now let's dive into Sea Duel. So Sea Duel is pretty interesting. Now I don't know what this pattern is, and I don't really understand this menu all that well, but I can still understand the gameplay enough. Your pair of submarines go up against another pair of submarines. It's kind of like Battleship, but the thing is, you get to move before the other person, and they don't get to see what you're doing. Then the next player moves, and you don't get to see what they're doing. What makes this interesting is you have to sort of predict what you think would happen. You have 4 firing directions, up, down, left, and right, and while the controls aren't all that intuitive, as I still don't know what the hell I was doing, I was at least able to play the game and understand it. It works for what it is, and it's also another one of those pass-around games. Plus it is AI controlled as well, so that's neat. Not bad, but again, not all that interesting. Last, let's toss in baseball.
Batter up!
Now we're onto the sports game. Oh man, must be terrible, right? Actually, no. Honestly, I kind of feel like baseball is one of my favorites. Yeah, unlike bowling's sort of shallow attempt, this one is really interesting and very creative. So we have an analog knob. Pretty accurate. So, what they do is they make you actually bat with the knob. You twist it just like a swing in baseball, and a little rod moves and hits the ball. You never get to pitch, but it's pretty interesting. The red dots are all the players. As long as you time your shot, you can hit it any sort of direction, and as long as you don't hit them, you get either a home run or at least a single, double, what have you. It's fairly interesting how you can time your hits. And this is the only one I see myself replaying. I guess because it's just so novel, and it even retains all the information from baseball. You can get fouls, strikes, and outs. It's all there, it's really cool. And you know what? It kind of makes me feel a little bit better about this thing. All in all, for the final verdict, let's just admit, this is a museum/collector's piece. There's no real reason to go back to this thing, and even if you're part of the very, very small selection of people who have nostalgia for it, there's probably better things to have nostalgia for, and I don't even think you're gonna have that much fun playing with this anyways.
You know what? Maybe the Microvision ain't so bad after all. Realistically, it's not about what you get, it's the thought that counts. And I know that's super cheesy, but like, there's a reason it's still being said.
Yes, I am rather fond of it.
But I'm a video game reviewer, so I gotta be honest. It's got like 20 games and they don't even play well.